Took the magazine out, I put it on the bed, I put it on fire, and I pulled the trigger. And it went off. And it was on my shoulder. It was on my shoulder, it was on my breast, it was up high. It was around here. I don't know why I thought it was on my thigh, but that was just...
You didn't think it was on your thigh, you thought the story sounded better, Skylar. I'm not a
The death
guy.
of Danielle Nemetz. Good day, and welcome back to Muter Mysterious, the channel committed to detailed reporting, verified sourcing, and careful legal context on the most consequential criminal cases in the United States. The investigation examined in this report concerns a shooting inside a Washington apartment that occurred on a calm Thursday noon, a single act of violence that ended the life of a 19-year-old woman whose future had barely begun. Before the full investigation is presented, please, before we continue, do not forget to like and subscribe. The case opens on October 16, 2014, inside a second-floor Lakewood, Washington apartment occupied by a young married couple, 19-year-old Danielle Nemetz and her 21-year-old husband, Skylar Nemetz. It was early afternoon, and neighbors later described the atmosphere as quiet and uneventful. Residents went about daily routines, some preparing lunch, others returning from morning errands. Moments later, that quiet fractured when a single explosive crack echoed through the complex. Several residents stepped out of their units, expecting to find a mechanical failure, perhaps a transformer blowout, or the collapse of construction materials. Instead, they saw a frantic young man, uniformed in the posture and presence of a soldier, running toward the exterior walkway with a shaking voice that carried down the entire corridor.
Why me? I love my wife so much. Why me? I love my wife and my life. I love my dogs. I love everything. I love my wife so much. She's everything. Hey! Hey! Oh my God. Hey! I need to know about my wife.
What?
I need to know about my wife.
Okay, we'll fill you in the more we know, okay?
According to multiple witness statements, the soldier appeared distraught, overwhelmed, and struggling to form complete sentences. His voice cracked repeatedly. He begged for someone to call 911. Through his sobs, he asked a question that startled every neighbor within earshot. Is Danielle dead? Within minutes, calls to emergency dispatch were placed, and law enforcement officers began mobilizing toward the scene. Neighbors later told investigators that they had expected to find an accident of some sort, an injury, or a domestic emergency. The reality awaiting authorities inside the apartment was far more devastating. When officers entered the unit, the first sight was Danielle, seated at a computer desk, her body motionless. A catastrophic wound was visible at the back of her head. The computer monitor in front of her had been punctured by the same projectile, leaving a shattered impact point that aligned with the trajectory investigators later documented. The weapon responsible for the shot was an AR-15 rifle positioned nearby. This rifle had been given to Danielle some months earlier as a birthday gift, according to Skylar, who stated it was intended for personal protection during periods when he was away for military training.
We gotta figure out exactly where you were standing, where the bullet struck your wife, why it did, all those things. It's not all adding up to the physical evidence right now. The trajectory.
What kind of story like this would have? Can you just put this away?
How many firearms do you have total in the house?
They're not all mine.
Well, how many? I'm just curious as to how many you have there. Even if they're not yours, how many firearms are in the apartment?
14.
14?
When law enforcement officers began assessing the scene, they quickly observed several indicators that raised immediate questions. Danielle had been seated at her computer. The entry wound showed a clear, direct shot entering the back of her head at an angle that suggested fixed positioning. The muzzle distance was determined to be close, though not pressed against her skin. indicating that the rifle was not meters away or dropped accidentally.
Took the magazine out, I put it on the bed, I put it on fire, and I pulled the trigger. And it went off, and it was on my shoulder. It was on my shoulder, it was on the breast, it was up high. It was around here. I don't know why I thought it was on my thigh, but that was just...
You didn't think it was on your thigh, you thought the story sounded better, Skylar.
The bullet's path proceeded directly forward into the computer screen, confirming alignment between her posture and the shot. Skylar initially told investigators that the shooting was accidental and occurred while he was handling or cleaning the AR-15.
Did you see the gunshot wound?
I saw the gunshot wound.
Where did you see it?
I saw it on the back of her head.
Did you know she was dead?
Yeah, I knew she was dead.
A year and a half after Danielle's death, the prosecution questions him about his conflicting stories and details he omitted. Skylar appears unemotional.
You talked about how the weapon went off because you slammed it on your thigh. Remember that?
Yes, as I was explaining this to the...
Do you remember that, Mr. Nemetz?
I remember saying that, yes, sir.
Okay, you did say that, correct?
I know I said that by viewing my video, yes, sir.
After that, you went through the rest of what happened, but you never said anything in that initial accounting, that open-ended question of what happened,